Welcome to the final part of ranking the best and the worst minifigure for each Star Wars character. This originally was supposed to be a single video, but it got kind of long, so here's part 2, let's get into it. I wanted this next section to be characters from non-mainline series or other forms of Star Wars media. First, I wanted to choose the best and worst microfigure. Both of these are from the Battle of Hoth LEGO board game. For the best, I chose this Boba Fett, who I feel like is translated very well into a microfigure with his design and paint scheme. One they failed on, in my opinion, is this Darth Vader. I just feel like not including his iconic cowl kills this design. I've never seen this show, but I feel as though many people actually enjoyed the Andor series. For the best Cassian Andor figure, I chose him with this nice dark blue coat. The details from the color of his legs to his gloves just really made this figure for me. There are no horrible figures for him, so I went with this reddish brown vested Andor due to the other figures being a little bit more interesting. This Ezra Bridger figure that comes with this unique helmet is one of my favorites from the Rebels line. There's just something about the look of it that makes it feel like a retro Star Wars, yet so unique. Now I chose this dark tan vest Ezra because it does fall a little flat compared to some of the more interesting figures. Similar to his buddy Ezra, I really like this Kanan Jarrus blind figure. The cover piece is so cool and can be used on different minifigures to change the vibe of your builds. I chose this surprisingly expensive black-haired Kanan Jarrus figure as the worst because from what I can tell, it just does not represent his in-show design very well. I have no clue how to say this next name, but Kira is a character that I do not really remember from Solo. I did like this jacket and collar version of her with this dark gray printing and was not a fan of the fur coat printing that seems just a little too disconnected. Sabine Wren has a few figures and each one of them with very unique hair pieces. I love this Mandalorian armored version of her. Her unique chest coloring makes it a top 5 Mando design in my opinion. The one I wasn't a big fan of was this dark blue hair with orange highlights. Her face print just seems too close together for me in this one. This Shore Trooper from the Battle of Scarif is one of my favorite minifigures from the non-mainline movies. For the worst figure, I chose the Captain from the TIE Striker set released in 2016. This amazing red Sith Trooper from Kylo Ren's shuttle is the best we have from the series. Now this helmet on this one does lower it for me. This next choice might seem a little odd, but I saw that there were enough snowman variants of different minifigures to rank them. This snowman with a Rebel helmet from the 2018 Advent calendar was my favorite design, but this snowman BB-8 barely even counts. The printing even looks more sun-bleached than snowy. Now for the Mandalorians. I actually watched a few episodes and I'm a huge fan of the Mandalorian designs when it comes to LEGO. This one from Mando's speeder bike has some cool dark helmet colors with the right accessories to make it an elite figure. As for this figure, the accessories ruin it by making his neck distended and odd looking. Now on to the true best era of Star Wars. The original trilogy has several characters that have over 30 variants, making these decisions very difficult. I was lucky if they had a really bad or really good figure. Luke Skywalker has the most minifigure variants out of any character in Star Wars. I knew going into this what my favorite was, but I did not know how many similar figures there were. I went with this Jedi Knight version of Luke from the 2008 UCS Death Star. It reminds me most of that sleek, The Complete Saga video game design. Although it's simple, the design is just classic. For my least favorite, it is actually from the exact same Death Star. This long hair Tatooine version misses the mark for me with that hairpiece. It is one of my least favorite hair designs that never look like the character that has it. Now Luke's sister also has a large amount of unique variants. This design of Leia is most like the original movies with that iconic buns hairpiece, but with the modern quality that we are used to now. Now a figure that has a hairpiece that takes away from the overall design comes from this figure who is in the UCS Ewok Village. Leia's lover Han's best figure is actually not even from the original trilogy. This fur coat version with goggles from Solo has the best design with enough interesting components that do not take away from his iconic character. Now I love old Harrison Ford, but this figure of old Han Solo is not the slick smuggler that we have come to know. The first of our Hoth related figures is the AT-AT pilot. This female version from the UCS AT-AT has the cleanest printing out of any other. I am also a big fan of the helmets for these pilots throughout the years. This older yellow-headed version body printing is much lower quality than the more modern versions. I remember Bib Fortuna being one of the creepiest designs when I started watching the original trilogy as a kid. This light blue robed version from the controversial Jabba's palace reflects that creepiness the best. This one made for the Book of Boba Fett sets, however, has some odd face printing choices. He looks more concerned than intimidating. I love the Scout Troopers probably more than I should. This dual molded helmet version from the Action Battle Indoor Assault set captures that movie design in the best way. The one I had to choose for the worst design actually was almost my favorite. This Kashyyyk style Troopers helmet is just a little too different for me to put it higher in the list. I was surprised that this more niche bounty hunter had enough figures to fit in this video. This Dengar figure has the best cowl designs with some super cool back gear. This version, however, has a very disconnected headpiece that seems to be a horrible choice for this figure who is supposed to have a fully covered face. Now one for the good guys. The Endor fight is one that I've always remembered loving at a young age. This Endor rebel reminds me of those cutscenes from the complete saga. I love the helmet and printed pieces. Now this figure looks like he shouldn't even be in the Star Wars universe. The clothing prints look more like a generic army uniform. For some reason LEGO struggles with the development of Wookiees and Ewoks. My favorite design that they did is this Teebo figure, which has one of the best quality printings with a super cool helmet that attaches to the headpiece. He was featured in the Ewok Village UCS set. The worst version of any Ewok is this Paplu figure from Ewok Attack. Some vintage figures that are monocolored carry a lot of nostalgia, but this plain tan coloring choice on just the face seems lazy painting to me. The Gamorrean guards, although just communicating with oinks and grunts, are part of one of the saddest scenes in all of Star Wars. This sand green figure is just so iconic I would be remiss to keep them off the top of the list. I like the modern figures too, but this olive green skinned version was just the lowest on the list for me. Another green figure that speaks no words in the movies is the man who shot first. Greedo's original version is just so iconic, even if it isn't as movie accurate as some of the others. This newer figure has this olive green skin that just does not hit the same as the original. Our next Hoth figure is this blank-faced Hoth Rebel. This old Hoth Rebel's face just throws me off enough to put him at the bottom. Another popular pilot is the AT-ST driver. This white jacketed AT-ST pilot is just so clean to me. Now this printed leg version from Rogue One makes it at the bottom of my list mainly due to the helmet printing. I am not a fan of the printed goggles on the helmet, and this version is one of the worst offenses of that. For the Imperial crew, there are several variants that are surprisingly different enough to make them interesting. This arm-printed version from the UCS Imperial Star Destroyer is the best version of any crew member that we got. Now for the lamest figure, this goes to the light gray uniform crew member. The difference between the hat and the body color is kinda what ruins it for me. On the officer side, this tan version from the TIE Advanced prototype is the best looking out of all of them. This Imperial Inspection version from 2005 is just a little too basic to be set any higher. The Imperial Guard figures do not have a lot of distinction from figure to figure. But this one with maroon arms and his crimson cape is just slightly better than the full red versions to me. The world of Stormtroopers is pretty vast, but this Shadow Trooper is the best version of any Stormtrooper that we have gotten. The dark grays come across even cooler than a lot of the black Imperial figures such as TIE pilots. I like the basic Stormtroopers, so I just chose this black-headed figure since you cannot have him without his helmet in a set. The Big Boss himself has been through plenty of controversy both on screen and in LEGO sets. Being a large slug creature, you would expect his figures to be rough, but this figure from the UCS sail barge is very well detailed, and the face design couldn't be more clean. It really hurts me to put this one at the bottom of the list, but the sand green version is just the lowest on the totem pole out of all the figures. Although they might be annoying in the complete saga, I honestly love the design of the Jawas. This one specifically with the cape is just so perfect for the character. The worst one, however, has some major design flaws. The holiday sweater from the 2025 advent calendar just has some weird disconnected designs when it comes to the hood versus the sweater. The next character on our list, one I hadn't heard of, but after seeing it, he has jumped to one of my favorites and I would love to own these figures in person. Jek-14's translucent arm is one of the coolest body parts that LEGO has ever featured. This specific version with the clone helmet is better than the 3 amazing figures. Now this one with the Stormtrooper helmet tries to lower the cool level of this figure. I certainly try not to take the value of a figure into account for my favorite, but my favorite Lando comes from one of the most expensive sets out there. This classic Cloud City figure with the multicolored cape is just so classy and clean, fitting for Lando. One I am not a fan of comes from the 2019 Millennium Falcon, which has a collar that I am not vibing with. As mentioned before, I am a huge fan of Mandalorian designs. This Super Commando has its awesome dark maroon printing around some dark base color on her armor. My least favorite version is this Mandalorian that comes with hair. I don't know much about the lore, but from what I remember they are not supposed to ever show their face. X-Wing pilots have been one of the most iconic pilots in all of Star Wars. This Theron Net figure has all these details to make a great pilot figure. Now this vintage A-Wing pilot is another example of old figures looking like they belong in non-Star Wars sets. This pilot looks more like a race car driver in my opinion. One Stormtrooper variant that I've always loved is the Sand Trooper. This specific version here, from the Dewback vs. Escape Pod Microfighter sets, is the best versions that we have received with that amazing orange shoulder cover in sandy printing. This one with the black shoulder cover is just not as iconic as that orange version for me. Now going over these Snow Troopers might be kind of funny. The best figure is this First Order Trooper with a cape, but basically the same figure without the cape I've chosen as my worst. I love this modern Tusken Raider that was featured in several Tatooine sets. This classic one is nostalgic for me, but it just misses the mark here. Whether you love him or hate him, Watto is just such a funny minifig. Now the newer modern version of Watto has a lot of the same characteristics that the newer Jabba has that I really liked, mainly the clean face prints. Now putting this vintage plain Watto might cause controversy down at the bottom of my list. Now on to the final section. Thank you for anyone that stayed this long. I left this at the end because I knew it would be everybody's favorite section. Now first off in the sequel trilogy we have this really cool Bacta suit Finn that comes from an exclusive visual dictionary. The worst one from this character is mainly because of his straight up hair. I'm just not a big fan of this design at all. Now the Knights of Ren are actually some of the best figures from this trilogy. Aplek is just so intimidating with his hood, cape, and very cool face print. Trudgeon, however, falls very short in the design area. I feel like the helmet and face print should have been together in one helmet/mask piece. Such a cool figure could have been made out of this character. Capes just make characters so much cooler than their base figures. This version of Kylo Ren creates such a presence with his body printing and hairpiece. The worst of these figures is this Supreme Leader Kylo Ren without a cape. His helmet just looks a little too big for his body and a cape would have saved it. Modern figures should have had certain detail increases that are better minifigures than from decades ago. This Poe Dameron figure improves on the X-Wing pilot suits, and I just love his own personal X-Wing set. This headset version, however, just looks kinda odd. The connection of the hair and the headset makes it look like a very odd, bulky hairstyle. And finally, onto our last figure of the video, we will end it off with the main character from the sequel trilogy. This white-robed Rey takes the movie's most iconic design and perfectly translates it into LEGO. And the worst Rey that I have picked is this Darth Rey from the Dark Falcon set. Now I chose this because of the hate people give her for her Force abilities in the movies, so why not bash the Sith version of her? Thank you to anyone who hung in there with me. Let me know about any disagreements that you have or any other themes that you would like to see me do this with.